Right, so we're asking you this question, of course, that is in tandem with that particular story. Do you think the allegations are made by Right Honorable Raila Odinga against the Jubilee government on corruption are authentic? Do you think the allegations made by Right Honorable Raila Odinga against Jubilee administration on corruption cases are authentic? You can hit us on Twitter. AMLiveNTV is a Twitter handle. AMLiveNTV is a profile name on Facebook. And 20505 is our SMS portal. Once more, do you think the allegations or the corruption claims by Right Honorable Raila Odinga against Jubilee government are authentic? You can hit us on Twitter. AMLiveNTV is a Twitter handle. AMLiveNTV is a profile name on Facebook, and 20505, our SMS portal. So we want to go to our guest this morning to discuss this and a raft of other issues as well in regard to what has been happening on the political front on the week that has been. And I'd introduce to you our panelists who are already in studio. We have with us Honorable Kipruto Kirwa, who is the Deputy Leader of ANC, also the former Minister of Agriculture. Also, we do have with us Alice Wahome. She is the Member of Parliament from Kandara. We have with us as well Professor Nyong'o, who is Senator from Kisumu. We have Dr. Shem Ochuodo, who is the Global Leader of Kenya Diaspora Alliance. And also we have with us Farah Malim, who is the Deputy Leader of Wiper Party and former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. All right, our guests already in the studio. I just want also to throw this to Honorable Kipruto Kirwa. You think these allegations about the KPA by Raila Odinga, they're justified?
Well, thank you and good morning. There are a number of issues, and I think those in government should be able to give us more light into this particular issue, because the Honorable Raila in the past has made certain statements that were seen to be allegations, but subsequently those statements were validated by the facts that came out much later. There are a number of them, and I don't want to name each one of them, but you know as well as I do that a number of allegations he has made or statements he has made in the public domain about corruption or perceived corruption in government, they have come to bear fruit at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. But right now, all that we know is just about the NYS that has really, gone through the rigors of a system in terms of investigations and people now who are alleged also that they're embroiled in that particular scandal. But when it comes to Eurobond and the other allegations, do you think does it really pass through the grid of that credibility? Because they had said by December last year, we'll get a report on the Eurobond. But up to now, we've not heard anything from ODM. Dr. Shem Ochuodo.
Before I comment, allow me to compliment our sportsmen and women, Kamoror and Cheptai, and the other patriots for the excellent job they did in Kampala. It makes us proud as Kenyans. The only missing link is weak leadership deficit, both at national and county levels. In terms of graft, Kenya is corrupt to the core. It's so unfortunate. Just yesterday, driving out of a supermarket, askari anasema, mheshimiwa, sasa unatuachaje? I've even seen this happen. Even some of the multilateral UN compounds, you drive out, and askari, you would think that there would be more decorum when you deal with people who work for such multilateral and bilateral institutions. But that's how low we have sunk as a country in terms of corruption and in terms of ukabila. So these are chronic problems that we must address. I must commend the former Prime Minister for bringing these issues out. Their veracity notwithstanding, because I'm not in a position to say whether they are true or false. Of course, I'm alive, like Honorable Kiro was saying, there are things he has pinpointed out that have come out to be true. But there are also some they bring out that don't get verified. So it's difficult to say, but whatever the case is, corruption is a big problem that we must slay, the dragon.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's hear from Professor Nyong'o.
Morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Let me join Shem for congratulating our athletes for good performance. Well, it's the responsibility of the opposition to keep the government on its toes. And as you know, Shema said quite clearly that corruption has become so deep in our society that it is threatening our very being. When opposition members make allegations about corruption, it is the duty of the government of the day to clarify and leave no doubt whatsoever that there's either corruption or those who are involved have been apprehended. That's the purpose of an opposition. And you don't then give the onus in the opposition to prove that there's no corruption. I mean, that's not the point. If there's no corruption, there's government machinery to explain to the public that what they're saying is pogwash. These are the facts. But if you look at the case of Eurobond, the Kenyan government has never come clean on the issue. When they were asked what projects did the Eurobond money finance, they said they are in various ministries. The Auditor General, one of the reasons why the Auditor General is in problem with the Jubilee government, the Auditor General said, well, I audit ministries, I audit counties. I have not seen where Eurobond money has been used to finance anything. You see, the budget of the country is very clear. If you remember, the budget says exactly what is going to be done, the source of money, you see, and so on. So really, it is a very simple thing. If indeed Eurobond was a hoax, the accusation was a hoax, government has the machinery to say so. And up to now, the Wananchi are waiting, and nothing much has been done. So I think really it's a simple issue, rather than keep on passing the buck. Can the opposition prove that there was corruption? That's not the correct question. Can the government prove that there was no corruption?
Right, can the government prove that there is no corruption? Alice Wahome, let's hear from you as well. Can the government prove that there is no corruption? Also, from the opposition, it has been a fact-free allegation as well. We've never seen any facts coming from the opposition.
Oh, I think, I'm listening to my colleagues here. When Professor says that it is the onus of the government to prove allegations of corruption, I think that is turning the law or the expected norms the other way around. If you have allegations, if you have facts that you feel that the public should know regarding corruption, there are various institutions set by the government where you can visit with the material before you and place it on their table and demand for investigations. That is one. Secondly, it is not possible for the government to be responding to every other allegation, even where there is no factual basis of coming up with those kind of allegations. And especially now that it is electioneering period, some of these things that have been said by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga have been also proved to be wrong. Where are the facts? And why can he not visit the EACC, visit the director of CID, and say, I want these things which I have now put to the public to be investigated? You cannot expect and I don't think the government is going to be waking up every minute to respond to what the Right Honorable Raila is saying. So to that extent, I think that is not going to happen, and it is wrong to expect that you throw mud and somebody else has to come and sweep your mud. No, sweep your mud also, because in any case, if you want us to respond, then the government may respond with the facts that are not necessarily correct. And I mean, what I'm saying, if you want to follow this to the core, come clean, come clear, lay the material and facts before the necessary institutions. Then you can ask the government, look, do not even interfere. This is the matters that I am saying.
All right, but that was not the issue, really. You know, when it comes to the issue of Eurobond, it was very clear the fact that Honorable Raila Odinga put on the table. The issue was, one, how much money was sought in the international market when the bond was floated. Two, for how long was the bond going to be floated, was going to be paid? Three, when the principal is due, will we be able to pay? Four, what was the interest rate? And five, for what purpose was that Eurobond sought? Was it used for that purpose? And the facts were laid. Even economist David D wrote extensively in The Nation about it. So you can't say the facts were not there. The facts were there, the government refuted them, and then the government gave a response that the Eurobond money was used to finance government projects in various ministries. Then the question was asked, which were these projects That question was never answered.
And they have been at pains to explain which these
Yeah.
products, isn't it, Faramani?
Yeah.
Yes, you know, sometimes we, the manner in which we're trying to deal with issues, it's the responsibility of the government when an issue is raised to come clean. Yes. Simple as that. The government is the one which has the machinery. And then look at how dirty this thing is. The Auditor General comes out and says, I haven't seen that money. What more proof do you want from ODM or from NASA or from Kweli in this case? What more proof? The Auditor General, who has got a security of tenure, and here is the government trying to remove that. And the president actually chiding him in the State House and saying, after your Auditor General, he wants to go to New York to go and investigate. What's wrong with going to New York to go and investigate this? What is wrong in going to New York to go and get the trail of the money? That tells you that the president is hiding something that we don't know.
All right, Honorable Kirwa, that gesture from State House that we saw from the president castigating also the Auditor General, and as well we know what is happening with the case of Auditor General in Parliament right now. Do you think was really warranted from the president?
Well, I think the president has made a number of statements that the only thing I can do is to sympathize with him, because where he is, and from that particular position, he needs to be more responsible than the case has been. Because, one, if the due process of the law ought to be followed, and the Auditor General is doing that,
Yes.
possibly even to authenticate the availability of that money and the purpose under which it was intended, that would be good for the government. But when you block an investigator getting into your house or getting around your house, it means there is something you are hiding inside the house or around the house. So it is unfortunate that the president has had to put himself in a very awkward position. I've said before, he's a nice man, but I think he's dealing with the wrong system.
Dealing with the wrong system, these allegations on KPA, I don't know if you're privy to these particular allegations from the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Dr. Shemo Chwodo, but do you think also this is just batting our heads on the wall again? So as we're heading towards the general election, this is when we are unleashing this particular allegation of corruption?
Debal, I think the king is exposed. I also empathize with the president. The country is sinking. Only people in one side of the government don't seem to realize that. We are in a crisis. Instead, we fight the wrong people. We fight the Oukos. But let me also say, with a light touch, I was a bit concerned to see a lawyer that's known to be partisan representing the Auditor General. I thought he would have handled this more professionally rather than politicizing it. But having said that, apart from targeting Ouko, I have also seen
What do you
Parliament.
think the lawyer is partisan?
Sorry?
Why do you say so?
The lawyer that he ended up with in court, we all know that he subscribes to one side of the divide. I mean, it's not a secret. I would have been happier.
But how do you prove that? How do you prove that he's leaning on one side of the divide?
Debal, we have known that Otiende Amolo has been a member of a particular political party. So to that extent, it's difficult. I'm not saying this out of the blues, but that notwithstanding, for me, I would have been happier if it was somebody that's clearly non-partisan, doing purely a professional job. But having said that, apart from the Auditor General, I've also seen Parliament cast aspersions on Governor of the Central Bank. I've said in this forum before that 3 people that I think are working in this government that don't need to be touched are Dr. Njoroge, Dr. Uko, and Dr. Matiang'i. I think these are very few people who are doing something that Kenyans appreciate. When the government or sections of arms of the government, in this case the legislature, tries to attack them, then you start questioning, are we genuinely committed to fighting graft? So again, as I said before, this is a chronic problem. I think the solution would be the TJRC, implementing the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission's report. And maybe if you permit, Debal, I do know that the president rattled feathers when he said, he accused the former prime minister of being responsible for the mayhem of 2007. instead of reacting the way the Right Honorable did, I thought he would have taken it up and said, Mr. President, why don't you use this opportunity to let Kenyans know the truth in the TJRC that has been talking about to be implemented?
All right, let's say
Let me just say something about lawyers.
Yes, please.
You see, I think Shem is wrong because I once asked my friend Feroz Noroji, who was representing Patni in a case. I said, Feroz, why are you representing Patni? Feroz said, I'm a lawyer. A lawyer is like a doctor. When a patient comes, it doesn't matter what tribe a doctor comes from, what party he belongs to. He treats the patient as a patient. It's a professional relationship. It's a lawyer, a client-doctor relationship. So I think that if when the Auditor General went to Amolo Tiende, it is not the party to which Amolo belongs that he's dealing with. He's dealing with a competent lawyer in a legal office, and the lawyer has no way of saying, look, a lawyer can excuse himself that, look, maybe this case I cannot take. But if a lawyer feels, I'm sure, that this is a case I can take, I don't think you can stop a lawyer. I mean, Feroz was very clear to me that, of course, I know what Patni did was wrong. But now I'm a lawyer, and he's my client. I will use the law as I know it to defend my client. And I think lawyers are correct, just like doctors are.
Well, there's a difference. In the case of Feroz, I'm not blaming Otiende Amolo, the lawyer. Professor is talking about Feroz. Feroz was very much in order to take up a case if a client comes. The person I'm raising the blame on is Dr. Uko himself. Why did he have is this the best lawyer he would have gone to?
But you know,
But that is his own discretion. If he really wants to take,
you can't use your own value judgment
that is own
to tell the age what to do. Really, that's very presumptuous, you know.
I think I can chip in very briefly in terms of legal representation. I think a person is entitled, and a person who is facing charges or an accused or a suspect is entitled to select a lawyer of their choice. Exactly. Because irrespective of what other people may feel, he must be comfortable and have confidence in the legal representation and services that he will receive. So to that extent, if he chose a lawyer who was on the panel of the Auditor General, because the Auditor General has a panel of legal services providers that are listed. Yes. And therefore, I think he cannot also take somebody who he feels maybe may not take care of his interests.
So we need to take a short break right now, but a reminder on what we're asking you. This day, of course, this is all the issues of corruption, and we shall be drilling deeper on the other side of the break as well. Do you think the corruption claims by Right Honorable Raila Odinga against Jubilee administration are authentic? Do you think the corruption claims by Right Honorable Raila Odinga against the Jubilee administration are authentic? You can hit us on Twitter. AMLiveNTV is a Twitter handle. AMLiveNTV is a profile name on Facebook, and 20505 is our SMS portal.